How do you become more articulate and well-spoken? Articulation comes down to two things: what you say and how you say it. And it is 100% a learnable skill. In today's video, we will dissect both of these parts so that you can crush your next speaking engagement, your next Zoom meeting, your next presentation, sales call, or your next YouTube video. Throughout school and professional experiences, I have given hundreds and hundreds of presentations. And at one point, I was very timid myself and I couldn't speak up. So what have I learned along the way to be better at speaking? I'm going to divide this video up into 3 parts. Part 1 is what we're trying to avoid. Part 2 is what to say. And part 3 is how to say it. To understand articulation, we should first understand what the opposite of articulation is. So this could come off as rambling, taking too long to get to a point, speaking in an unstructured format with no end outcome. It could be incohesion. Your words are not clear, or you're not accurately capturing your thoughts or what you intended to say out loud. If you're using language that's too complex or not catered to who you're speaking to, people won't comprehend what you're saying. So even if you're the smartest person in the room, you won't be perceived as well-spoken if the language that you use is not catered. And lastly is poor delivery or lack of delivery. So that can mean that you're not loud enough. Your words are not crisp enough. You're not using enough pauses. I tend to do this sometimes, still working on that one. Maybe you're not speaking with a smile. So let's give you a framework to avoid the things we just spoke about. Remember, articulation is what you say and how you say it. In order to not ramble, the goal is to have some structure to what you say. This is particularly for presentations, meetings, interviews. The structure that you want is some sort of framework. Speaking and thinking in frameworks with an end goal in mind is something that all of the world's best leaders and speakers do. And the best ones do it completely subconsciously, so you don't even know that they're speaking in a structure or a framework. For example, if you're speaking to a crowd, the storytelling framework is great for gaining rapport. If you're a teacher, then listicle framework is great. Here are 7 key features of a mitochondria. Business communication also has a lot of frameworks: pros and cons, issues analysis recommendation, who, what, when, where, why, base case, best case, and worst case. This is for decision making. Another part of framework is having an outcome, because there's the what you actually say, and then there's a so what. So if you said some facts, why does what you say matter, right? Why should people care about what you just said? If I tell you that the filing deadline for personal taxes is April 30th, and I just left it at that, it wouldn't mean anything, right? Why should people care about what I just said? But if I tell you that the filing deadline for taxes is on April 30th, and if you don't file your tax return, then you'll be subject to a 5% penalty on your outstanding balance, that made the sentence a little bit more worthy. The so what could be a consequence. It could also be a benefit as well. Because the reason why people do anything, buy anything, or listen to what you have to say is because of loss aversion. So if you're in sales, this is really good. The so what should always feed back to loss aversion, especially if you're in sales. If you don't buy my thing, what's the consequence of you not buying my thing? If you're trying to persuade or influence someone, why does what you say matter? What's the end outcome? And why does the person that you're speaking to need to care about what you have to say? What's in it for them? People often speak to hear themselves talk, but what they don't realize is that no one cares about what you have to say because they only care about how what you have to say benefits them, right? People are too busy thinking about themselves and how things impact their life. So always remember, what's the point of what you say? Because people can say a lot of words, be very loud and verbose, and talk a lot, but the words can have no meaning. So that's what we're trying to avoid when we're trying to be more articulate. If you want the words to have more purpose, then think about whoever you're talking to and make sure you speak with that end person's outcome in mind. And also how you say it matters as well, because people don't remember what you say, they only remember how they were left to feel after the conversation. So how do you improve at speaking with frameworks and an end goal in mind? By far, the number way to be a better speaker is to practice, but also do a lot of these things as well. Read a lot, write a lot, listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, study other people that are articulate and good at speaking, write down and type out what they say, then practice it yourself. Journaling also helps a lot as well. Having an unconscious stream of thought and allowing it to flow on paper. However, being well-read doesn't automatically lead to being well-spoken. So once you figured out what to say, the next is how you say things. This is the actual physical delivery of your words. So this is enunciation, speaking crisply. Every single word is a word, no slurring, knowing when to pause, keeping sentences short and simple, removing excessive filler words and ums. This is completely learnable. Arnold Schwarzenegger came to North America not knowing how to speak a lick of English. In fact, he actually had a heavy European accent when he came to America, and he still ended up getting into movies and politics. Why is that the case? In his book Total Recall, he mentioned that he spent hours and hours daily practicing his speech. He hired someone to help him remove his accent. It's completely learnable. Physical posture and volumes by projecting from your diaphragm, sitting with your back straight and speaking loud enough. Okay, this also goes hand in hand with confidence as well. Make sure you adjust your speak based on who you're speaking to. I speak to the camera very differently than how I talk to my son. I speak to my husband very differently than how I speak to my mother, right? I speak on Zoom differently than how I speak to my friends. So adjust your language and your tone and your speak to who you're speaking to. How you say things is completely all practice. Remember that all babies are born with no ability to speak. So some tips is that there are a lot of YouTube videos on the speaking niche for warm-up, articulation. Just like in sales, the only way to get better at selling is to do more sales calls. The only way to get better at speaking is to speak more. So reading out loud, practice reading the newspaper, read books and articles out loud. I once read that a famous actress in Asia who was born in North America, she practiced reading the newspaper out loud every single day to improve her on-camera delivery. This is exactly the same story that I mentioned, like Arnold, right? Nobody is born with the ability to speak. I actually really enjoyed making this video today, so if you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know down in the comments below what other soft skills that you might want to see me make in a video. Let me know down in the comments below whether you have any questions or whether you want to hear more about this topic in the near future. Until next time.